people get stuck in thinking they shouldn't be feeling down. They shouldn't be angry. They shouldn't be sad. The truth of it is that you will be experiencing that. And the more that you can truly allow yourself to experience the sadness, the pain, the grief, the whatever it is, while also focusing on the good things, that's where you move through the challenges. Right now in society, we're in a place where nobody is slowing down. People are accelerating, speeding up, doing more, and burning out and feeling unfulfilled. And I'm here to say, the answers to your problem, not all of them, right? But it is actually taking the pause. It is slowing down. It is doing less and being more. And the being more is so key because we think that we're going to do our way into happiness. And that's not how it goes.
Guys, I'm welcome to one and only Nikki Sharp. How are you doing?
I'm actually doing really, really well today after a few days of a little bit of an emotional crash. And I know that I'm kind of launching into that, but the question of how are you doing? I find that most people just say like, yeah, good.
Yeah.
It's like, but is that,
things are well.
I'm fine. Yeah. And
I'm not sick today.
I'm someone that I live by my values and two of those are authenticity and vulnerability. And so I'm always very open just to be like, yeah, like I'm today I'm really good. If you'd asked me yesterday, I would have been like, oh man, like I'm sitting in the shit. It's like, it's not fun. So today I'm really good. How are you, Stephen?
You know what? I'm like you. Today's been a great day. You know, I just got back from traveling myself. I've spoken at an event and watched my oldest son graduate, which was a blessing. I unfortunately had a divorce last year myself. I've managed to meet someone who's amazing. Things are going well there, but I did have to bump into my ex while at the graduation. So that was interesting. So, so there's, life's complex at times, but it's also, it's complex at times, but it's beautiful all the time. Right. So
yeah,
I actually want to talk, let's jump into emotional stuff.
Let's do it. And
the reason is because, I know you obviously created resources to help heal yourself. So we'll touch on that. Obviously, if you're as much as you're willing to talk about it, kind of the healing process and kind of restarting life and kind of what that looks like. Because I think at the end of the day, a lot of our listeners and viewers, they're early stage aspiring achievers in some way, shape, or form. They're business owners, C-suite professionals, or moms, or dads, or husbands, or wives, or boyfriends, or girlfriends. Our audience historically is roughly 60% women and 40% male, which is kind of interesting to me. I don't know why. Because I come across as fairly masculine, but in the grand scheme of things,
content. That's why.
Oh, thank you. Well, thank you. I guess at the end of the day, our audience, ourselves, yourself, we all go through emotional trials, and how we use those either to propel us forward or hold us back. And I'm curious to know from obviously from the place that you're currently at, how's things going? And then kind of like, what tools and resources you use to move forward?
Yeah, absolutely. And just touching quickly on what you were saying before of, the experience of life. I like to say that it's duality. We all experience duality of you can be both happy and sad in the same moment. And the thing that I've recognized with humans and working with so many people over the course of the last 11 years is that people get stuck in thinking they shouldn't be feeling down. They shouldn't be angry. They shouldn't be sad. And the truth of it is that you will be experiencing that. And the more that you can truly allow yourself to experience the sadness, the pain, the grief, the whatever it is, while also focusing on the good things, that's where you move through the challenges. You will keep yourself stuck when you sit there and say, oh, life should be good, or you do the emotional bypassing or, ignoring that you're not feeling good, because what ends up happening is that it starts to show up and manifest in the body. So emotional pains that we go through, if we don't deal with them and you just push them away, I like to say pushing them, under the carpet. Oh, that's not bothering me. It will show up in your body as pain, as sickness, as illness, as disease. And so from my point of view and everything that I've been through, and I'm very vulnerable and I openly share because I want people to, people look at me and think, wow, she has this perfect life. She has it all together, successful business, traveling. And it's like, yes, I do. And I'm also human going through this human experience. So I went through a divorce a few months ago. I was married for 1 year, realized very quickly that
Wow.
it was not the relationship I wanted. I put all the work into it, the therapy, did all of my own work
Yeah.
that I could to show up as my best version.
Sure.
And something that I really want to get across is I work with so many people that keep themselves stuck in unhappy places in life. And so
1,000%.
whether it's right, a job, a relationship, whatever it is, we keep ourselves stuck because we don't want to face the uncertainty. We don't want to face what will happen when will I meet another person. And
Yeah.
for me, it's like, I want to live the most vibrant, vital life that I possibly can. And of
Yeah.
course, there's going to be some challenging moments in that and pain. But what I realized during the divorce, and this is one of the tools really that helped propel me forward, was one, having courage to know what I do want, know what I don't want.
Yeah.
And more importantly, what do I deserve?
Yeah.
And I think so many people get stuck in the, I don't know if I actually deserve something better.
Mhm.
Is this all, this might be all I can get.
Yeah.
And I'm someone that I'm always striving for more and higher grounds. And so I'm like, in my marriage, I was like, no, I deserve so much more than this.
Yeah.
And so I broke my marriage off, went through a divorce, went through an international move, going from Miami, coming to London, all in the span of 6 months. It was a lot. It was very
Yeah.
intense. And so now we're a few months out after I've moved. And the truth is that the first few months were the hardest I've ever gone through. Like, I've gone through a lot, and
Yeah.
they were the hardest I've ever gone through. And one of the greatest tools that's helped get me out of it quicker and become more vital and vibrant. Like,
Yeah.
and just a little caveat there is, people tell me, you look better, you have more energy, you're shining brighter than ever. Like, how did you just
Well,
get divorced?
there's no constriction on the soul.
There's no constriction, right?
Yeah.
And the key piece of that is because I allowed myself to slow down. I actually paused my business, paused my podcast, said no to everything, and focused on me. I became so selfish because we need to be selfish in order to give to others. If you're giving from an empty cup, guess what? People are getting scraps of you.
Yep.
And so I'm very much a proponent of, you have to put yourself first. So it was challenging. It was scary. I had all these fears coming up. But by doing that, I allowed myself to rest, to get out of the masculine, the go, get things done, which needed to happen. And in the slowing down, I found myself, and not just found myself again, but I discovered a new version of me. So there's some familiarity, and then there's all also this excitement of, wow, I get to discover this new girl and who she is. And so it's been exciting and wonderful and challenging and scary and hard. It's been everything.
Yeah.
And the slowdown was so important. And I say that and I emphasize it because right now in society, we're in a place where nobody is slowing down. People are accelerating, speeding up, doing more, and burning out and feeling unfulfilled. And I'm here to say, the answers to your problem, not all of them, right?
Yeah.
But it is actually taking the pause. It is slowing down. It is doing less and being more. And the being more is so key, because we think that we're going to do our way into happiness. And that's not how it goes.
No, it doesn't happen that way at all. In fact, I was just, there's so many things that you just said that I want to touch on. I guess the first part I would go to is being self-aware to know that, especially at the end of a relationship, and this is the rule I've mentioned briefly before to the audience before, so they know my perspectives. I'll share it with you and see what kind of resonates. I believe that you have to go through a intentional sabbatical after the end of a relationship. I believe in no less than 6 months, where you're not getting involved with another person romantically and stuff like that. Because from my perspective, you have to go through a transition period where you're owning yourself. So the things that you it could have done better, times you could have communicated better or done the right thing to change your energy state or whatever. Also being aware of the things that you will allow and won't allow, right? So if someone's being super derogatory or trying to smother your spirit or whatever like that, then obviously you got to, that's not something you want. I'm a big believer that healthy relationships have a 2 parts individuality and 1 part couple, right? It's where the
Amen to
couple,
that.
right? So the person on either side is able to run their race, run their lane with the support of the other person, but they also run the lane together. And that has been the trickiest thing for me to discover and follow and find suit in. Unfortunately, like again, I'm now been dating someone for several months who's amazing. She actually will come into our conversation a few times a day. You guys remind me a lot of each other. And one of the things that we did that my grandfather told me to do, ironically, a long time ago, this is probably 5-6 years ago. He asked me, this is something I want to share because I think this is pivotal to the conversation. I had just gone through a major breakup. He's the one that taught me the sabbatical process. And then during the sabbatical process, about halfway through, he goes, I want you to pull out a pen and a pad. I'm like, okay. So pull out a pen and a pad. And he's like, this grandfather's the kind of guy that you could sit at his feet and he just oozes wisdom. Like it just falls off of him. If he had an aura, it's silver kind of thing. Like he's Gandalf or something, And when I'm sitting here with a pen and the pad and I'm like, okay, what? He goes, all right, I want you to write every single character trait of the ideal mate. Right. So, and I was like, okay, well, she's this, she's that. And he goes, those aren't character traits. Those are physical qualities, character traits before physical qualities, always. Okay. So I said, okay, well, he goes, how important is honesty to you? I said, super important. I've been cheated on multiple times. I don't want to have that happen. Like I give of myself. Right. So he's like, okay, well, let's make loyalty part of it, process, empathy, alignment. Like we listed all these different things. And that became the list moving forward. And then over the last decade, I've refined the list and refined the list and refined the list and refined the list, right? So I have an awareness of, like, even in the dating sector, like, or ding, 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 kind of like thing. And it does help you not settle.
Mm-hmm.
And to your point, I find that we all settle, I would say, because of loneliness. We just get lonely. We want a companion. We want someone to be sitting on the couch with us, eating some popcorn, watching a movie, or traveling to, Santorini or Hawaii or any of these beautiful places, right? We want somebody to be kind of roll with, right? But most of us won't do the work to get ourselves together to make it a reality. And this is where my grandfather's next question, like, changed my life. He said, all right, do we have a great list? I said, yes, Granddad, we got a great list. You're sure? Yeah. What do you think? He's like, that's a pretty solid list. Okay, great. He goes, now your next thing is this. What kind of man do you have to become to attract that kind of person? What he was teaching me to do was work from the inside out, not the outside in.
Mm-hmm.
Right? How important have you now seen that in this next transition journey, even in kind of preparing, because you're not done, right? You're going to find the love of your life, and it won't take It won't take a long time, but it's about being that right person. So tell me about kind of how your perspective is on that.
Oh gosh, you just said so many juicy things there. So I've been teaching a very similar process in my program. It's called the Ultimate Transformation Program, and it's my signature course, 4 months long. And in that, we do a really big deep dive, very similar, list out all of the different things, the physical, the characteristics, the values, down to the detail of how are you guys around each other's friends? How are you with each other's parents? Like some people don't even go there normally. So yeah. I have my clients get really, really clear. And I do this continuously. I've been refining my list since 2015. And I do the same thing of, okay, of that, what are the non-negotiables? So, very often I'll have women come into my program and say, I want the guy, he's X tall, he's this, he's that, makes that much money. And then it's like, okay, of those, what is the most important so that let's say he's not these other things, that is the number one thing or number three things. Yeah. Then like you, it's who do I have to be? And so to piggyback off of what you were saying of becoming that person, prior to my marriage, actually, I'll tell a funny story, a quick funny story. So in 2013 or 2014, I met a person and I actually said to God, I was like, all right, God, I want a man that will treat me like a princess. And I remember so clearly, and it was like, and I knew the other qualities, but that was so clear. And guess what? I got it. I was treated like a princess, but
You
not a
got bored,
queen.
didn't you?
No, I was treated like a princess, but not a queen.
Ah,
And yeah, interesting, right? So then through that relationship, which was an on and off 6 year relationship, there were all of these things in my mental list. I didn't have a physical one at that point.
hmm
But what I recognized was that my non-negotiables, I was actually letting those go because he checked a bunch of other boxes. And
yeah,
that's what we do as well and this is why the non-negotiable list is so important.
yeah,
So then I'm justifying bad behavior and I'm
yeah,
staying out of fear. And that's the
yeah,
big thing, is that we can do these lists all day long and we can find amazing people. But if you're not willing to walk away from a relationship, it's because of fear of,
yeah,
I'm not going to find the real person, which
yeah,
is essentially devaluing yourself.
yeah,
So, cut to then I meet my now ex-husband and I got way clear on the list. So, everything that I wanted, I got. It really is
mhm,
like on paper, the
yeah,
exact thing. I had a fairy tale wedding. It was written up in
yeah,
the media. And people ask me, Nikki, how can you still teach about manifestation and relationships if you got divorced? And I tell them, I got
yeah,
exactly what I wanted. But here's the big thing. God gives you what you need, not just what you want. And I
uh-huh,
needed to go through this relationship to see patterns that I didn't know.
yep,
And, we can do all the healing, self work, self development work, but it's in relationship that is where the deepest level of healing
yeah,
comes, because it brings us back to childhood and all of
yeah,
those childhood triggers. So cut to I then I went through the divorce, and on my list I refined it, got really clear on
mhm,
the physical attributes are important, yes, but it was the qualities and the characteristics that are just
yeah,
top of the line. So the big thing that I got clear on was, I want a partner, and I'm ready. I'm calling in a partner that will treat me like a queen,
mhm,
because I'm ready for a king. Now
yeah,
I had to go through that evolution of being the princess
yeah,
to then being what is for me that female embodiment. So then, to kind of end that story, is I learned prior to my marriage to date myself. And this was a radical concept for me of being okay going out by myself and loving myself enough to have wonderful, beautiful date nights just for
yeah,
me.
yeah,
And in the process, after my marriage, actually at Christmas, I booked myself a beautiful hotel room, and I was like, I'm going to make this the best Christmas I've ever had. And I bought myself a Cartier love ring, and it's actually on my wedding
nice,
finger. Not, and so people are like, "Oh, that's scaring guys off." I'm like, "Right, but I'm not looking. I'm open, but
yeah,
I'm not out there. Like, I don't need you. I'm
yeah,
so complete and fulfilled because I've actually married myself at this point, and I can say that it is the greatest thing to feel so content and fulfilled and full by myself, because I do things for me, to me, by me.
mhm,
And therefore, and I did actually meet a wonderful person, and we're in the beginning stages and no
yeah,
expectations. And it's beautiful because, as you were saying in the beginning, Stephen, of he has his life, I have my life. And it's the first time that I ever have felt that we actually could join forces,
yeah,
but I needed to go through heartbreak and trials and tribulations. And
yeah,
I know people get so stuck in I need to meet my person. I'm going to meet my person and that's it. And I'm like, I
yeah,
couldn't be more grateful for meeting
yeah,
the person at the time and the divorce,
mm,
because it helped get me to this next level. And man, this girl right now, Nikki Sharp, who's right here, like, she's amazing.
yeah,
And I will not settle for anything less than,
yeah,
because I already provide everything for myself. So for you to even enter into my sphere,
yeah,
you better be that checklist,
yeah,
because I'm already exactly what I need to be for
yeah.
that.
Yeah, no, I love that. I was just thinking I think Tom Cruise did us a disservice with that whole "you complete me" thing.
Yep.
Like you have to complete yourself, and I think that's one of the things that I've learned heading into my new relationship in the last several months. It's been cool because you go into the relationship very early stage, already having deep conversations. Hey, I believe individuality. I believe in running my race. I believe in you running your race. I believe in us running a race together. And as time goes on, that you have to call back to that vision and that mission statement, it's almost like a couples vision and mission statement, if that makes any sense.
Which I think people should do. And that it's a super important one for couples to, if you want to be a truly successful, fulfilled, and I'm not saying short term, like the long term, the 7-year itch, when shit hits the fan like that, that mission statement is super important.
Yeah, no, and again, but when you have those things in place, right? Just like we were just talking about, you're going to have conversations where you tend to collide, right? You tend to run back into old every now and again a behavior pattern that was kind of old programming, some would say, right? And you have to know that. I would say it like this. Recently, I've discovered that relationships are a lot like magnets, right? So magnets will smack together, especially early stage. And then they kind of like will kind of hover right here, and you're kind of enjoying the energy exchange between the two. And at any point in time, one of the other partners could accidentally flip over, which gives you that push away, that repel. But having a language, I think is important. Chastity and I have developed a language early on that we can, we use from time to time. It's like, okay, I've been triggered. I've been this, I've been that. I feel like this, I feel like that. And it's not always comfortable to express how you feel and your feelings in the moment, but an early stage commitment for us was when we feel it, we're going to say it rather than give a month or 2 month or 3 month or 4 month or whatever that to take place. So I think that's super important. The other thing I want to mention on the list piece is I've discovered that just before, call it the one, right? So I think to your point, I think you have multiple relationships along the way that teach you multiple things about yourself and about the value or the values of a relationship that you then get to accelerate and excel from. At the same time, I also believe, just from my own experience, that every time I was about to meet the person that was going to help me go to the next level, a counterfeit came. They look like they're the list. They're 70 or 80% of the list, but the 70 or 80% they aren't even the important stuff. Like, they're beautiful, they're amazing, they're self-sufficient, they have great manners, they're great with people, they're great with their friends, they're great with, they have all that, but damn if they can't be loyal. Like, you know what I'm saying? I find that there's a counterfeit, and I also find that for me, I've discovered it also seems like we get to take the test over and over and over again until we learn the lesson. But once we learn the lesson, we don't have to take the test over it again. Has that been kind of your similar experience out of curiosity?
100%. I love that, the counterfeit. I've experienced that every single time. And people come into our lives for a season, a reason, or a lifetime.
Yep.
Now, everyone's going to be a reason if you learn from it. And ideally, you're constantly learning and growing. But just as what you're saying, it's, every relationship, like, I think we go into relationship, whatever it is, with whomever, and especially a romantic partner. And because of society and because love, we all want love. We're like, this is it. This is the one.
Yeah.
And I think people forget that, you may meet the one now, but that's a different version of you than who you might be. Like, that who would have been the one, the person that I was dating in 2013, who I did want to get married to. No. That person's not in alignment with who I am today. And so we get so caught up, and going back to something you said earlier of the 6 months in between dating, the reason people don't like to do that, or the serial daters, is because loneliness. Well, what is loneliness? It's not being okay by yourself. And so we avoid and we numb and we distract from sitting with ourselves and our own thoughts and the shadow side and all those nasty things the mind is telling you. You're not good enough. You don't look good, whatever. And we end up jumping into things. And when I say things, I'm not just saying relationship. There is not a single person on this planet that doesn't numb themselves. And it might be with drugs, alcohol, sex, drugs, numbing through avoidance, right? So that you're numbing through the TV. People numb themselves by throwing themselves into work. We avoid ourselves by work. We avoid by going out all the time. And that was something that I recognized patterns of mine, and really being okay and allowing that. It was like, okay, I'm both sitting at home more than I would like to. I think I want to get out and just see people. And then I would find that there were moments where I have a local bar where I live, and I would go and I'd have a glass of wine. And then I found that I was just doing that every single day because of that kind of loneliness. And then you're like, oh, I see that pattern. And I like to always bring light and playfulness into the serious topics. Like, we all have patterns. We all have things we do that we don't like. And it's like, instead of sitting there and beating yourself up for the thing you shouldn't have done, it's like, can you recognize it with just a little bit of joy and a little bit of playfulness and be like, oh, I see, I'm doing that thing again.
Yeah.
And when you do that and you meet yourself with, let's say, that higher vibration or frequency or love, we don't then tail end into the self-sabotaging patterns and the beliefs and the thoughts. And so it's meeting yourself with kindness and compassion and love, which is what you would do for a friend. So really the time, not just out of relationship, but it's getting in relationship with yourself. Because when you think about friendship, like, we put so many expectations on our partners.
Yeah.
But we have best friends, and what's the biggest difference? Well, there's loyalty, there's respect, we don't have neediness.
There's also a lack of control.
Right? A lack of control.
Yeah.
So we're letting go of expectations,
Yeah.
and there's friendship. But how many people can sit there and say, I'm best friends with myself?
Yeah.
No, we treat ourselves so badly, but then we expect this partner to come in.
The most horrible things to ourselves when no one's looking.
And everyone does it, right? And whether you say it out loud, like, women will put on pants or a dress and be like, oh, I don't like my flabby batwing arms, my love handles. And it's like, is that what you would tell to your partner? If your partner was trying to lose weight, would you be like, hey, fatty, you look pretty bad today? No, you would never do that. And so the whole essence and bringing that kind of playfulness to it is becoming a friend to yourself. And something that I've learned and I teach, and it's so important, and this one sentence, if nothing else, that people take from, is love yourself even if you don't like yourself.
Ooh, that's so good.
Yeah. Right. Yeah. So can you love yourself and your shadow sides and the things, your love handles you don't like, or that you're short and you don't like, or as women, your hair doesn't look like this. Or as a man, your business isn't where you want it to be. Can you love yourself even if there are parts that you don't like about yourself right now? And that one sentence will change your life.
Yeah. No, I will. And we're talking about unconditional love. You know, it's funny. One of my life coaches, Paul, we used to end every session with, all right, Stephen, I want you to, at the very end of the session, you'd say, I want you to tell I want you to say, I love you, Stephen, 3 times. And, the first, I don't know, 80 times I did, I was like, I feel like an idiot. This is dumb. And then on the 81st time, I'm like, no, dude, I love you. Yeah. Like, you're working so hard. You're doing so good. You're trying to serve, at scale with excellence. You're trying to be all the standards that you said you set forth. You're keeping the promises you're making to yourself. You're making daily progress. It was really interesting to get there. And, because my mantra, my typical morning mantra is, I'm healthy, I'm wealthy, I'm wise, I'm a steward of the Most High. And then I love you, Stephen. And I added that last bit on the 81st time, because I'm a big believer in, you can't attract a whole person if you're not a whole person yourself. Right. So wholeness is completeness. Right. And, respecting to your point, the physical things you're not crazy about, the bad. I'll tell you one that I see a lot of people struggle with, and this is one that was really hard for me to break through, is guilt. Oh. I made this dumb decision way back in the day. For some reason, it's still controlling my direction.
So did you know guilt is actually the only human emotion that has no purpose? Wow. Sadness and anger shame has purpose. They help us. Like when you feel shameful about something, that means that you don't really feel proud of your decisions. Guilt is the only emotion that has no purpose. It doesn't help us get anywhere. And what I've realized, because I felt a lot of guilt in my life, and my therapist had helped me understand. She's like, Nikki, this is not your guilt you're feeling. This is actually your parents, some beliefs and things that conditioning they've put in because they felt so guilty in their life. And I was like, oh, that's right. So what I realized was that guilt is a lack of conviction in your choices.
Ooh.
Some truth bombs here.
That's good.
So if you don't want to feel guilty, have convictions in your choices. So can I cuss? I've sort of cussed a little bit. Can I cuss on this show?
Yeah, you can do what you want.
Okay. So, because I can do it the PG version, but the R version is more impactful.
Just don't go to LA.
No. So I'm going to give a sentence to people of how to get out of guilt and how to have conviction with your choices. So let's say you have I'm just going to make something silly up, right? You have a choice to go out with your friends and you've promised, you've committed, you said yes, but you're feeling really tired today. And you're like, oh, but I feel guilty if I don't go. So I want you to ask yourself, is it a fuck yes or a fuck no to go out? And here's the thing. People will say maybe. If it is not a fuck yes, it means that it is a no. Simple as that. If you try that one sentence, besides the other truth bombs, like that question will get rid of the guilt because you're answering from a place of true alignment. And when you do the thing that is the fuck yes, you feel better. Always, every single time. There's not one single time that I've used this and I'm like, yeah, damn, I really am regretting that I stayed home last night and I feel more rested today. No, it doesn't happen because I did the thing that was in alignment. So asking yourself, is it a fuck yes, fuck no, will help you get conviction on your choices instead of this mind being like, should I? The other thing that I want to add, Stephen, is that the words should or shouldn't, have to and need to will completely ruin your life. That is where guilt and shame reside, is I have to do this. I need to do this. I should do this. It's like, no, you actually don't have to do this. It is a choice that you are doing. Every single thing you're doing in your life is a choice. Going to work, that is a choice. Going to that job versus another, that's a choice. You don't need to do anything. So when we can shift the mind from, oh, I have to do this, to, do I actually want to do this today? Do I actually want to go to this job that I fucking hate? And if the answer is a fuck no, then great. Now
Find
you
a
have
new place to work.
Go get a new job. At least now you have some clarity on, wow, I actually don't like my job. Why don't I start putting together my resume for looking for something else? And of course, some fears will pop in. But this is the stuff that I work with clients on, because we get so caught up in the mind and the mind trying to make decisions. And then we lose touch with ourselves. And I know I'm going a long answer, but I want to add one last thing here. So our mind, the human brain, is 90% subconscious matter. There is only 10% of your brain that you are actually using on a day-to-day basis that you're trying to think your way through problems. Now, the problem there is the mind is the thing that creates the problem, and we're trying to use the mind to also find the solution. So that's most people walking around are using 10% of their operating system. So what I teach people to do is how to use that full 100% and how to use the mind, not the mind use you. And so when we get to these places where it's, the have to, should, need to are the mind. That's that 10%. So instead, it's starting to using, the questions and the things, little nuggets that I've given, that will help get you into alignment with your body, your feelings, like feeling. And I'm not just saying like woo-woo emotions. I'm saying actual energy. When you walk in a room, do you feel good in your body or do you feel drained? That the body will give you so much more answers, so many more answers, and so much more clarity on what's right for you and what's not right for you. So I just wanted to add that.
No, I think that's amazing. In fact, one of the thoughts that came up is in that mind that internal subconscious conscious conversation, right? Your subconscious trying to tell conscious, hey, you're going into danger. Don't do it. But your conscious mind's like, no, this is something I need to do. This is my quote firewalk, or this is my breakthrough. I feel like the only way you get to truth is by sitting with yourself and sitting with those two things. There's a meditation thing I like. It's called The Warrior. It's on YouTube. Because I've been battling uphill my entire life. So I'm big into warriors. I got Spartan helmets everywhere and everything like that, right? Big old shield, swords, whatever. But one of the things that it says in the meditation specifically, and it's a spoken meditation, it's like, my mind can be at odds, and that's okay. It just means I'm processing. Like you're trying to discern. In some cases, you could be trying to discern between two lies, two truths, or a lie and a truth at any given moment. And then trying to dissect that, you can only do through reflection. And one of the things that I teach people to do here is I teach them actually to create a replenishment plan, right? So a replenishment plan, is one part sabbatical, for example. So where do I go? What do I do? And who am I doing it with? So when I'm feeling drained or empty, or my cup is like getting close to zero, all right, I moved to Utah from North Carolina because I love the mountains. I'm surrounded by mountains here in Lehigh. I can see mountains as 40 miles one way and 40 miles the other way. And the scenery changes every day. I got this big glass wall in my family room. So I have panoramic views of the landscape, and I feel charged. I also feel a charge ionization when I go towards the ocean. Right. So that's, where do I go? What do I do? Well, sometimes I'm just sitting. I'm in a meditative state. I'm in a reflective state. Sometimes I might be throwing a football with somebody or the kids, or like any number of things. Right. And the reason I bring that up is because I feel like sometimes people need the tool or the tactic to give themselves space, to allow them to safely filter through the nonsense, basically.
Mm-hmm.
I want to go ahead and switch a little bit, just because I know I don't have you forever. And that is the ability to heal oneself. And I'll set the stage with this. So Chastity, who's this amazing, beautiful woman that I'm currently partnered with and serious potential with, came to me about 2 or 3 weeks ago, and we've been running and gunning. So she's been, from the time that we started dating. She also has a personal brand and all that kind of stuff as well. She has a book coming out late next year. I'll set all that up later on, but so she's got her own work she's doing. I've got my own work we're doing. And then we started helping thought leaders who have a difficulty monetizing themselves, put their stuff together in order so it works, right? So she's been heavily involved in that. So we've been running and gunning for months, okay, while building a relationship, like, so that it's compound. Well, she comes to me 2 or 3 weeks ago and she goes, my body's off. I'm like, what do you mean? She's like, well, this is happening and this is happening. I just feel off. I'm like, okay. And I'm wired differently than she is. Like I'm very much go 1,000 miles an hour. It's how I'm wired. And she comes to me, she goes, I need to slow down and pause. I'm like, okay, cool. So she's been in the slow down / pause mode for probably 2 weeks now. And she goes, I'm getting back to alignment with myself, which is beautiful words, right? And of course, as her partner, I'm like, yeah, absolutely. Do what you got to do, right? Interestingly enough, she came to me just recently. I was traveling back from North Carolina and got to hop on a phone call. She says, I just want you to know, I did some research today. I'm like, okay, cool. On what? She says, well, my blood type is the rarest blood type in the world. And I realized that most of the foods I'm eating, most of the drinks I'm consuming conflict with that blood type. So I'm going to change everything how I'm doing with this, that, or the other thing. And I'm going to focus on what's in alignment with my blood type to start and see where it goes. And the reason I say that is because, one, that's beautiful self-awareness, honestly.
Mm-hmm.
2, I know part of your journey was actually healing yourself from all kinds of various things. And I just thought we could jump in using that story as a catalyst, because it's one of the similarities I see with both of you guys, right? It's a lot of ultimate self-awareness.
And the self-awareness, like, for people listening or watching, for your girlfriend or for someone like you or me, like, it doesn't just happen. I was not 20 years old with this level of self-awareness. I was a hypochondriac. I had every medicine you could have because I was like, oh God, what if I get sick? I needed control over everything in my life. How did that then manifest on the outside? I had eating disorders, and I tried to control because I felt out of control in my life, and a lack of love and a lack of feeling good enough from my childhood, which is it's that kind of double-edged sword, let's say, of the thing that we all have wounds from childhood, whatever it might be. Maybe it was you were bullied, or something happened with your parents, or you didn't feel loved, or whatever.
Yeah.
It's both the most painful thing that we'll experience, and it can be the greatest gift to propel you into that catalyst for change. So I am who I am, and I teach what I do because of the wounds that I have from childhood. So instead of becoming a victim to the circumstances, which of course we all do, like there's still moments where I'm like, oh, why me? Right? God, like, can the universe just give me a break? Can I have like a few weeks of like nothing for just like a hot minute? And the universe is like, yeah, no. Like, oh, God, okay. Yeah. And so I share that because we get the awareness through that pause, through that sitting down and that slowing down. And I love the questions that you're asking. Who, like, where are you going? What are you doing? Who are you with? Like, for me, I do what I call the solocation. So I love going to Mexico. I have my hotel. I have my routine. Because I'm so busy in my life, and I run a business and a podcast and all these things, and people rely on me. When I want to turn off, I don't want to make decisions. So I want to be in my feminine, which means going to somewhere that I already know.
Yep.
And I know what I'm going to eat there. I know my routine, so that I can actually just drop down and be. And I don't bring my laptop. I bring my dream binder from this program that I teach. And that's where the self-awareness comes, is sitting with myself for those hard conversations. And one of the hardest conversations actually was what propelled me to do the divorce, is when I realized that my ex-husband was very similar, almost identical, to my mother and the childhood that I grew up with. And I was
you
like,
always marry your parent.
Oh my God. Shit. There we go. And that was a really, really hard realization, because as much as I love my mother, we don't have the best relationship no matter what I've tried. And that's not to say that anything's wrong with her as a person. That's to say that I'm doing my own inner work because I don't like feeling in pain.
Yeah.
And I think that people get the whole like self-development, inner work so wrong.
Yeah.
In that it's not that, like, I'm not sitting here being like, universe, can you give me another hard thing, a challenge that I can learn from? Like, I'm ready. No, I do the self-work because there's pain in my life from something, and I don't like pain. So the more painful your life is, that's the invitation. And when I say pain, if you think about physical pain, our bodies, I said this in the beginning, but if you have unresolved trauma or emotions, that gets stuck in the body. That manifests then into lower back problems, right? Shoulder, there's things on the left and right, the mother wound, father wound, right? There's all these different things. And so whether it's physical pain or it's emotional pain of like your heart hurts, or you don't trust yourself, that's pain, or you don't feel like you're going to have love, that's pain, that's painful. So the inner work is really the catalyst of pain and trying to feel better. And instead of running and numbing, it's let me face myself, and what am I going to do with this information? So now that I know this thing about my mom and my ex, I was like, okay, all right, well, that's cool. I don't want this relationship anymore because I don't want to be in a relationship with my mother. And that was and so then the question becomes,
I don't mean to cut you off, but that's also the attraction part, right?
Yeah.
That that's where you think you're attracted to someone for a different set of reasons. And it actually has more to do with a comfortability or a programming from a prior experience.
And I'll do another little truth bomb here. Is we are hardwired both in our subconscious mind, right? That 90%, and our nervous system to the familiar hell. And we stay in the familiar hell versus going to the unfamiliar heaven. So for me, divorcing, that was the unfamiliar heaven. I then I went on a few dates with someone, different person that I'm mentioning, or that I had mentioned. And it was kind of up and down and a little bit of love bombing, and not intentionally in a bad way, but it was like, not love bombing. It was a bit of what's called breadcrumb, where it's like, you kind of give it and then you take it. And that was because that was his own fears coming up.
Yep.
But I realized that was the moment that I was being tested to see, am I going to do the same pattern? I'm like, oh, hell no. No. I'm not going to do the same pattern. So that was done. And, the familiar hell is anything and everything from the programming that runs in your mind the moment you wake up saying, I'm a bad person, I'm fat, I'm this, I'm that, right? I am are the two most powerful words in the human language. Whatever you put after that, your mind believes to be true. Yep. Whatever your mind believes, you will then do. You will manifest into reality. And so we get stuck in the familiar hell. And it's terrifying to go to the unfamiliar heaven, because that means having to do something different. And the mind likes certainty. The mind likes control. The mind likes routine. So it is easier to stay in an unhappy marriage or unhappy business partnership or job, because the mind, that's routine. The mind will stay there. And so, a big part, and going back to your girlfriend and the story that you said, I mean, one, that is incredible self-awareness. And just astounding to be able to do that. Two, I want to say that's really incredible of you as well, to be that partner that wasn't triggered by it. And because that means you're secure in yourself. Most partners get triggered.
Let's talk about it for just a second, because I wouldn't say I wasn't triggered by it, but I had the choice to adjust. Like, so the choice was made.
What you did, so I actually loved what you just said. That's profound that you said, I actually was a little triggered. And I think that's so important, because people think that, like, when we've done our level of work, that we don't get triggered. I'm like, no. No.
Wouldn't that be nice?
I'm like trigger happy. I get triggered all the time, but it's what do you do with the trigger?
Yeah.
And that's what I'm hearing you say. Like, so yesterday, for example, I was walking down the street and didn't have a great day. And there was this little kid, really loud, obnoxious. It was just not vibing with me. Now, I have a choice. I can sit there and yell at this poor kid or his mom, or I can let it ruin my day, because now I'm in my mind thinking that the kid shouldn't be doing whatever he's doing. And I was like, I'm just going to walk a little faster and then turn left at the next street. And I did it. And then within one second, they passed and I got on with my life. So that's a really important thing, is when you are triggered, which we will be all day and every day.
Yeah.
What are you doing with the trigger? So she has self-awareness and self-love and respect, by the way. To do that, that's self-love and respect. You then get triggered, and that was self-love and respect to not react. So I talk about, how do you act and react? And you treated her like you would a friend.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Right? We project onto our partner all these expectations, all these needs. You should be this, you should do that. And it's like, whoa. Is that how you would talk to your friend?
Yeah.
If your best friend in the world came to you and was like, Steven, I have this blood type, and I know we go out often, a few times a week, but I think I'm going to change my diet and I'm going to start going to the gym. I might not see you and I know you're a fit guy, but this is why people get really triggered when their partners or spouses or friends start working out, because we inherently then look at ourselves and we start judging ourselves. Oh shit, I can't do that. Yeah. Oh, I must be bad because I'm not. So we get triggered all the time, that mirror reflection. And, in that, you would say to your friend, all right, good on you.
Yeah.
I hope it goes well. And you might actually be inspired by your friend. And I think that's what I'm hearing happened with this interaction, which is, I love that we expanded it.
Yeah, no, and that's what I wanted to share out of authenticity and transparency. That's one of the things I'm super passionate about. Because I feel like people learn far more from us talking about, okay, we still get triggered. We get this. And in that specific sense, for me, it was I think this is the first thing that goes through everybody's mind. Did I do something wrong?
Mm-hmm.
Right. And I had a choice in the moment to say, well, there's no right or wrong here. My partner is telling me with clarity what she needs. And as a partner, I get to choose right now, do I support her getting what she needs? And if you're going to be in a healthy relationship, then your partner should support you getting healthy needs, including if that means you are in a different room while they're doing their thing out and about, running around, Pilates or hiking. Like, that's what I would want. I don't want to be controlled. I don't want to be manipulated. You know, there's a time and a place where, and this is the interesting thing. I think this gets into polarity a little bit, right? Or the pull.
Ooh, I love tantra, polarity, all of these things. I'm like, let's go.
So it's the push pull, right? So
yeah.
I've discovered that when you truly support your partner's best interest, meaning their best interest is not often your self-interest.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So her saying, "Hey, I need this time for myself."
Well, you know why? I'm sorry to interrupt. It's because we want carbon copies of ourselves. Yeah. We want carbon copies, but the problem is, if you've ever dated a carbon copy of yourself, you actually get bored pretty fucking.
Oh yeah, and you're miserable.
You're miserable because we need contrast in our life. We need, like, where you live, you get a lot of sun. So when there's a day of clouds, it's nice, right?
Yeah.
I live in London where we don't see the sun so often. And we just had 1 week, but I came from Miami where it was sunny every day. And I got to London, I was like, oh my God, this is amazing. So then we just after a few months, we had 1 week of the most spectacular weather, and it fulfilled and nourished me so much. And then it went cloudy and I'm like, I feel so good. Yeah. So we actually need contrast, but I'll pass the mic back to you to finish your story, but we want carbon copies of ourselves, which is also why when you have kids, we want carbon copies of ourselves. Why? Because it's easy. We know what to do with a carbon copy of ourselves.
Yeah.
And when there's not, it triggers us. Why? Because we want control, all of us. And I'm not saying that from a bad place. I'm saying that is the reptilian brain. That is essentially the prefrontal cortex of the brain, this 10%, the conscious mind. And not just the conscious mind, but your brain is constantly looking for danger and it wants to survive. That's it. We can put everything down to that. And so when there's something that is a challenge to us, a trigger, or we don't know how to handle it, the brain is going alert, alert, danger, danger.
Yeah.
And it's not really. So, okay, passing that back to you.
No, I'm glad you interjected there, because that's super important. I think the interesting thing is I discovered that true polarity operates in opposite of logical thought.
100%.
Right. So you would think, well, so-and-so wants distance, they don't love me. Or so-and-so needs this and they don't want to do it without me, so they don't love me. Reality is when they're self-aware enough and you're both operating in a mature state, femininity, masculinity, which I think we're definitely on the range, more of the range of the healthy masculine female, and we tiptoe back and forth. I have to work on leaning into femininity from
your fem. Yep. And
right? I'm super masculine, I guess.
I just want to interject really quick on that. Also, both women and men get into this thing where it's like, oh, I'm feminine and my guy needs to be masculine. No, you actually, just like we have the sun and the moon, we have land and we have sky, we have water, we have mountains. Every single human being needs to be in a healthy range of both of them, of masculine and you might have a more dominant one, which is fine. Like, I am very much in my masculine in business, but I've learned how to be the masculine, not out of fear, because masculine is what was driving me, out of fear, but how to be the healthy masculine so that I can hold that space for women in a safe place. I create the structure, right? That's masculine. And then I show up as my feminine. And so for you, what I'm hearing, and this is beautiful, is that you're aware of, right? Self-awareness. That's
the cool thing about it is like, when you lean into, when your partner, first of all, when you can get to a healthy state of maturity with your partner, when they can communicate what they need. Okay. And sometimes what they need is not necessarily with you. Like I show up in all areas of my life. She mentioned to me before, she's like, I want to show up every now and again. Let me show up. So I'm like, okay, that's does my partner tell me what she needs? Mm-hmm. Okay. So what does that look like? And you walk it through and talk it through. But in the grand scheme of things, when you release the expectation, or you release the aspiration of expectation, I think it should be this way. because of, you're basing what you think a relationship should be oftentimes by prior relationships and what you witnessed as a child. Okay.
Mhm.
So to the extent of that's healthy or not healthy.
And celebrities and
Yep.
society and
Yep.
all these
Culture and
make-believe
all of it.
Cinderella stories. Yep.
Exactly. Yeah. So, but when you release them, the crazy part is they actually come back. Like they go away for we'll call it a hot season. So, she told me she wanted to focus on I want to focus on us. I want to focus on the kids, and I want to focus on basically nesting. Right. So I'm like, okay, cool. That's awesome. Right. Last night, her book agent reached out to her and they're ready to fire stuff up. She goes, okay, I'm ready to roll. Let's go. I'm like, fantastic. So it's interesting that polarity operates in opposite of logic. Because again, you would think someone's doing this and that and doing that. I'm not loved. I'm not this. I'm not that. And those are all triggers and things we have to work through. But if you can get to the state in which you can release and not release with no expectation, like, okay, like it's actually like, cool, babe, go enjoy yourself. Like, let me know how Pilates is. Let me know how the mountain hike is with the other people. Like, just let me know. I'm here. Like, it ends up building the intimacy required to actually have a sustainable relationship long term, and it also makes each partner continue to grow evenly, or a bit more like this. Because what you and I talked about at the beginning of the show is like, if one partner's growing and the other partner's not, there's a natural expansion between the two, and it's not before long before it ends. Right. So one of the things,
or if it doesn't end, then, I mean, you and I both know the amount of people that are in resentful relationships, sexless marriages, no touch. They're like friends, but like not even really. And then they say, and this is the worst phrase that I get very angry when people tell me this. We're staying together for the kids. And I'm like, do you know what that's teaching your kids? That's teaching your kids to stay in an unhappy marriage for other people. So put everyone else first, not yourself. So essentially what you're telling your kids is, don't be happy. Is that what you really want to teach the kids? And when I frame it like that, people are like, oh.
I think I'm going to make a phone call.
Or at least that's where the invitation of the awareness is it's not to say you need to go make a decision now. Yeah. It's to say, is that what you want to be teaching your kids?
Yeah.
And when it's like, my parents got divorced when I was 14 and they stayed together for me, quote unquote. And I was like, why? You guys hated each other by the end of it. Like, that didn't give me a healthy view on a relation. And I love my parents, right? And I'm grateful for the work that I've done and based on what they went through. But I'm like, no, you guys probably should have gotten divorced when I was like 1, honestly. Like, not before, because I'm really glad I'm here, but maybe not 14 years later, because that did a little bit of damage.
Yeah, for sure.
And one thing, I was going to say, one thing I would want to add there is, what will happen when couples stay in an unhappy marriage like that for the kids is that the kid grows up thinking that it did something wrong because the parent was not as loving as you can be. Why? Because you cannot be loving to someone else if you are in a hateful, resentful marriage. You can't. Yeah. So the kid will grow up thinking, what did I do wrong? That question you asked. And it's like, well, you didn't do anything wrong, but your mom or dad didn't love themselves. So you can't give love that you don't have.
Yeah. 1,000%. It's funny. I know we're already over on time, but I'm going to ask one more question. And it's only because I'm feeling compelled to. And the question is this: is there something sitting in your energy or on your heart that we haven't disclosed today that you think the audience needs to hear?
Oh, yes. Oh,
I knew it was there. Go for it.
I mean, I have so many things. You see, I get fired up, jazzed up. I love these sort of conversations. And I always like to say too, if you're listening, like every podcast I do, is take a pen and a piece of paper and write notes, write aha moments, write key phrases, write what you learn. And I'll DM me, message me, email me. I love hearing what people took away. But the last thing that I would say is the amount of people, everyone pretty much, and there's moments, Stephen, that you and I go through this too, where there's things that we don't like about ourselves, our business, or the relationship, whatever, or your kids, you're triggered by them. Here is the thing I want you to remember. You cannot hate yourself into change.
Ooh.
You can only love yourself into change. You cannot hate yourself into a loving relationship.
Yeah.
Their contrast doesn't work. And so I say that because the amount of women that are like, I hate my body. And I'm like, but do you think if you said, I hate my relationship, that it would be a loving, healthy relationship? And they say, no. I'm like, so what makes you think that your relationship with your body or your business is going to be any different? You cannot hate yourself into change. You can only love yourself into change.
Oh, that's so stinking good. I knew it was there. I knew it was there. I love it. I love it. Well, look, I know everybody can find you all over the place. Is there a specific place that you would like everybody to come and visit and learn more about what's going on in your life?
I mean, I love Instagram. Come say hi. I do everything, my own social media. So pop in the DMs, nikkisharp.com. Check out programs, the Sharper Life podcast. But yeah, just come say hi.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much for coming on the show. I really appreciate you. We'll have to do more of this for sure.
Absolutely. Thank you so much, Stephen.
All right. Take care.
I hope you liked that video. And if you did, make sure you check out this next video right here.
I would say there's two major things that we see newer investors get wrong. The first one, they only focus on return and they do not focus on risk.